Tyler.
Recorded. Recorded means everyone's here, right, Maura?
Most of us are here, but I think since we're starting with our informational meeting, we could probably go ahead and get started.
Sounds good to me. Good afternoon. I guess it's just now afternoon, and welcome to the Ann Arbor DDA's December 2021 informational meeting. My name is Tyler Kinley, and I am the DDA board chair. This is the second of two informational meetings the DDA is required by state statute to hold each calendar year. I will now turn it over to Maura Thompson to give a presentation on DDA activities. Maura.
Thank you, Tyler. And I'm gonna shut my camera off because you can see I'm here twice because I'm having serious internet issues. So if I have problems on this computer, I'm gonna run to the other one. So just bear with me.
All right.
Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, as Tyler said, this is the second of two annual meetings the DDA is required by the state statute to have each year. So welcome to the December 2021 meeting. Our last meeting was in June, so this is basically a 6-month review. I'm going to break down the work by revenue source. The DDA has two primary sources: parking fees, which support the operating and capital improvements activities in the parking system, and tax increment financing, better known as TIF, which supports the downtown development and affordable housing activities in the organization. And together, these activities of the two primary systems carry out the DDA's mission, which you can see there in orange, to undertake public improvements that have the greatest impact on strengthening downtown and encouraging private investment. So we will start with the parking system. As you all know, the impacts of the pandemic on the parking system have been significant, but we are seeing some positive signs over the last several months. So this slide is a snapshot of total parking fees for the first 4 months of FY22, which began July 1st. And before I review this slide, I think it's really important to note that at the time that we were doing FY22 budget prep, which was last January, February, things were still really uncertain in terms of how the vaccine rollout was actually going to go. Would U of M be back in classes? Would we have a football season? Would we have an art fair? Even capacity limits in businesses were kind of up and down at that point. So with all of that said, we took a very conservative approach to this budget. So to orient you, again, this graph represents parking fees across the system. So you've got on-street, hourly, and monthly included here. But that yellow solid line, that is our FY21 budget. And another reminder on that, we set the FY21 budget in February, March of 2020. So that budget was set at pre-pandemic levels. So that's a good comparison if you're trying to think about like, where are we in comparison to better times. And then that dotted yellow line is the FY22 budget. The gray bars are the FY21 actuals, and then the green bars are our FY22 actuals. So you can see that in July, Art Fair gave us a nice bump. And then we suspect that over the next few months, obviously U of M coming back in person, vaccination rollouts being strong, and really people's comfort levels in coming out, you know, we think have contributed to this kind of steady activity. So we are ahead. You can see we're at 130% of budget, but remember that's ahead of a very conservative budget. We are still well below pre-pandemic levels. So we are cautiously optimistic, and we continue our conservative approach to managing our parking system. The DDA's obligations are very straightforward, and we prioritize expenditures accordingly. So we realize we have debt obligation. We give 20% of gross parking revenues back to the city, which they in turn use in their general fund. We make sure we take care of critical repairs, and we maintain these city parking facilities. So annual restoration and maintenance, this is really, critical in keeping facilities safe and in good repair. And you can really think about a parking structure more like a bridge in terms of its upkeep. They're exposed to the elements, and they really do require ongoing care. So this summer and fall, we focused our work on 3 of our structures, 4th and William, 4th and Washington, and Ann Ashley. So we've been really busy with about 2,500 square feet of concrete and brick repair, over 27,000 linear feet of joint sealants, and over 115,000 square feet of deck coating. And just to give some context to this work, I wanted to share a few photos because I know for most of us, some of this doesn't really mean that much. But here we have, this is full depth concrete repair. So you can see very, very necessary. This is partial depth concrete repair. Here you have some joint sealants. Here you have expansion joint work. And what's probably most familiar to people is just deck coating. You see it when you're walking up and down the stairs and in and out of the garage. So other highlights surrounding the parking system in the last 6 months. The current parking operator contract expires at the end of FY22. So an RFP for a parking operator was issued, and a recommendation is actually coming to this board today. We've also issued an RFP for engineering services, and again, a recommendation coming to this board today. And finally, and you can see Jada's been very busy with RFPs, an RFP for a curbside management study has been issued, and we anticipate interviewing firms next week. We've also been working over the last several months with the city's Office of Sustainability and Innovation on adding 80 new EV chargers to the parking system. Pre-pandemic, the DDA prioritized and budgeted for sustainability initiatives within the parking system, specifically adding to the 30 EVs that we currently have. But of course, due to revenue shortfalls, we had to defer expenditures for most items other than those then for critical repairs and maintenance. The Office of Sustainability, however, does have funds in their FY22 budget, so money that needs to be spent by the end of June. And they were looking to add EVs to the parking system and leverage current DTE rebate dollars. So we have been working with them, and a resolution is actually coming to you today to approve a cost share with the city to move forward with this project to make sure that we can complete it before June 30th. If approved by the board, the cost share will then go to City Council this coming Monday night. So that it's an ongoing process. And finally, Jada has also found time to work with the Tree Line Conservancy on a pilot project down at 415 West Washington. The parking system also continues to support many of our COVID response efforts. And as a reminder, this is our 2nd year of these efforts. So the curbside carryout program, those are those red meter bag spaces that allow up to 15 minutes of free parking. This program will conclude at the end of the year. The repurposed parking space program, which allows restaurants to expand patios into adjacent spaces. This program is tied directly to the city's sidewalk occupancy permits, and it will conclude at the end of May when those permits expire. The weekend street closure program, in addition to TIF dollars funding those closures, Republic Parking staff also manage those meter bags every weekend. That program did conclude on November 1st. And finally, meter bag waivers, of course, fewer this year than normal. However, more than last year. For the art fair did happen, the Mayor's Green Fair, so we waive all those fees. We will now switch gears to TIF. So through TIF, the DDA takes on major infrastructure projects. And going back to our mission of taking on public improvements to strengthen downtown, at its core, the DDA is an infrastructure organization. Over the last several years, our projects have come under the DDA's People Friendly Streets initiative. People-friendly streets projects are value-driven, and the discussion of resilience and our experience at the start of the pandemic helped to further shape those values. And this board adopted last July the value set you see on this slide, which includes safe and equitable access, affordability, and vibrancy, just to name a few. And these values align directly with key city initiatives. So building more affordable housing, carbon neutrality by 2030, and the Vision Zero goal by 2025. So, and again, the pandemic has highlighted that we don't want to rebuild the status quo. We want to rebuild better. So projects, we're very proud of some of the projects that we recently completed. This summer, we finished the First and Ashley Street project, which is the final project in the first round of people-friendly streets projects. On First and Ashley Street, which I should point out is an award-winning project, we restored two-way traffic on both streets and installed a protected bike lane on the east side of First Street. This project also included a partnership with the city of Ann Arbor on water main and resurfacing. And we added a sense of place by adding this beautiful plaza you see on the slide at the corner of First and Liberty. Division Street. This is the first project in the next round of people-friendly streets projects. This project is currently under construction, and if you've driven around downtown, you've certainly experienced it. It is expected to be completed by the end of the month. It includes a two-way protected bike lane on the east side of Division from Packard all the way to Catherine, a raised bus stop on Division near Huron, and some safety improvements at the crosswalk at Community High School. William Street. We are currently under construction on William Street as well, with enhancements to the original project that was completed in 2019. And as you all know, William Street was the first protected or two-way protected bike lane constructed in Ann Arbor. And as such, we chose to take a flexible approach when we took on this project, acknowledging that we knew we would learn from this effort. And we now know that installing curb protection, like we have on First Street, is more efficient from a maintenance perspective than the delineators. So those white items you see there on the slide. So we are now replacing those delineators with concrete curb island. And this will save time and money on street sweeping and snow removal. And as a reminder, the city does take on all of that maintenance, and we have been communicating with them, and we understand the issues they had on William Street. And this project also, same timeline as Division. By the end of the month, we should be wrapping it up. In partnership with the city, we are also working on the final design for the State Street Improvement Project. The city has a two-phase water main replacement and street resurfacing project on State Street scheduled for 2022 and 2024. The DDA is taking on major infrastructure streetscape improvements on State from William to Washington in phase one of the city's water main project. The most notable element of this project is that the street between William and Washington will be curbless. The goals of this project include prioritizing the high volume of pedestrian activity, and as you all know, being adjacent right there to campus, crazy amount of pedestrians in this area. We want to provide more flexible curbside zones for businesses. We're going to be improving drainage and managing stormwater better. And we really want to reflect the unique character and context of this iconic corridor of our downtown. And again, you can see construction anticipated to begin this spring. Miller Catherine. We are particularly excited about this project because it is a collaboration with the Ann Arbor Housing Commission. The DDA will support the Housing Commission's project on the 4th and Catherine parking lot by upsizing and extending the water main, making this project more competitive for funding, while also expanding the protected bikeway network and addressing a high crash corridor, which has been noted in the city's transportation plan. This project is in the design phase and is anticipated to be constructed this summer. 4th Ave Street and transit improvements. This is another collaborative project, and not only are we collaborating with the Housing Commission, but we are also working closely with the AAATA. This project will support the Housing Commission's project at 350 South 5th, the old Y lot, along with streetscape improvements to support transit operations at Blake and provide a safer and better experience for transit users on 4th Ave. The timing of this will really be determined by the Housing Commission, depending on when they will begin their project. And once again, TIF dollars are being used to fund pandemic response efforts. Again, second year that we're doing this. We provided $50,000 for barricades for the street closure program. And again, this year we paid for all downtown business sidewalk occupancy permits. The DDA also provides annual community support from both the parking system and the TIF side. So through the parking system, we fund the Go Pass, which allows all downtown employees for free rides on the AAATA and support the Get Downtown program. We manage all of the bike parking you see downtown. And in a typical year, we waive many meter bag fees. However, naturally, that has been down since events have been down. And then on the TIF side, the DDA funds over $500,000 a year to support the city with the debt they have on the city justice system. We take on about $400,000 in sidewalk repair and maintenance. We contribute $150,000 to the city streetlight replacement program. We have a grant program to encourage property owners to fill sidewalk vaults. We put about $330,000 a year into our affordable housing fund. This year, we provided the city with a grant of up to $195,000 for pre-entitlement on 415 West Washington. And finally, the DDA provides the funding for the holiday lights that you see on our trees. Since June, we have also received a clean audit. Our capital projects manager is back from her extended leave, which is wonderful. And this board and search committee have been working hard on the executive director search and have extended an offer. So that wraps up our final informational meeting for 2021. I thank the board for its dedication. I thank DDA staff for being incredibly dedicated public servants. And I would encourage anyone at home who is interested in keeping up with what is happening downtown to sign up for our newsletter at a2dda.org. And that is all I have.
All right. Whoa. Am I getting feedback here? I'm hearing it. No, better not.
I don't hear any.
No? All right. Well, I'm hearing something. So anywho, thank you very much. That was thorough and a good walkthrough of all the stuff happening here at the DDA. Appreciate it, Maura. That concludes the informational meeting of the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority. The informational meeting is adjourned. Now we move just directly into our December board meeting. Good afternoon and welcome to the December 2021 board meeting. Again, my name is Tyler Kinley and I'm the board chair. Going over to the details for today's meeting. DDA board and staff will participate by video and audio and are doing so from their homes or offices in Michigan. DDA staff participating in today's meeting are Maura Thompson, Sarah McCallum, Jada Hallbrook, Amber Miller, Liz Rolla, and Kelly Graves. Thank you to members of the public who are joining us today. Your microphone will be muted during the meeting. Time has been set aside at the end of the meeting for public comment. The chat function is enabled for use by DDA board members during the meeting to indicate you wish to speak. We ask that DDA members and staff identify yourself before speaking. When not speaking, please mute your microphone. A reminder that during roll call, each member of the board must state they are attending the meeting remotely in their physical location, county, city, township, or village, and state where you're located. Maura, if you'd please open with a roll call.
I will, and I will try to not screw it up this time. So here we go. Micah Bartelme.
Present, attending Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Alex Deek.
participating remotely via Zoom, City of Ann Arbor, Washington County.
Milton Tahoney,
Present, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Jihei Kim,
Present, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Tyler Kinley,
Present, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Marie Clough, Jessica Letoff,
Present, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Jonathan Massey,
Present in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Molly McFarland, and Darren McKinnon.
Present, Ann Arbor.
We have a quorum.
Wonderful. May I have a motion and a second to approve the board meeting agenda? Anyone can just.
Yeah, I so move to approve the board meeting agenda.
Second.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any changes? You can see it in front of us. Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The agenda is approved. I do believe we have someone signed up ahead of time to speak. I see it's Peter Honeyman. You have 4 minutes to speak. Peter, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Peter Honeyman calling from Ann Arbor. The Downtown Area Citizens Advisory Council, which works to advise the DDA and City Council about issues and opportunities that affect downtown livability, met over Zoom last night. The meeting was attended by a dozen CAC members and nearby residents. The CAC continues, as I've reported in the last couple of meetings, to act in ways to increase membership and visibility with help from the DDA staff. Last night, the attendees discussed recent downtown and DDA developments, such as the December DDA newsletter, the bike lane construction on Division and its effect on nearby residents, and the selection of a final candidate for DDA executive director. The CAC greets these developments with optimism and cheer. Attendees uniformly expressed concern that CAC meetings might be forced to abandon Zoom and return to in-person meetings. The CAC is not ready for that and asks that the DDA help to find a way for the CAC to continue meeting remotely while remaining in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. Much of the meeting comprised this discussion of Liberty Plaza and its impact on downtown livability. Recognizing a number of shortcomings in the current status of the park, for example, there's an obvious and critical need for accessible and available public toilets, there was agreement that there should be a larger community conversation on how to improve the park and the entire block, which is identified in the city charter as the center of the city. It's not clear what role DDA can play in catalyzing this conversation, but the focus should be, as Ray Detter always reminds us, on connectivity. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Peter. Just as a point for you, Peter, when we go to the reports from city boards and commissions, that's your time to pop in for the CAC review. So
yeah, I know. I didn't.
It's only to say thank you. And in the future, we've just set aside a whole time block for you, so you don't even need to sign up. But appreciate it. And
okay, that's how it's worked in the past, and I'm sure we'll get it right down the road.
Perfect. Yep. And we really appreciate it. Thank you. Are there any other people signed up? No. Reports from city boards and commissions. Well, Peter just provided us with a report from the CAC, so I think that about suffices. I believe that's the extent of the reports. The next is the DDA members' communications. Do we have any member communications from the board? Are we seeing anything? Sorry, Mike, I'm not seeing it.
Oh, this is Jess. I just wanted to amplify, since I actually almost missed this, the vaccine mandate email that was sent out, I believe, by John Fournier, and just making sure that we as a board respond to that in a timely manner.
I assume everybody has seen that. If not, definitely check your inbox. As Jess, thank you. for the reminder there. It's very timely. All right. Now we will turn over the floor here to Maura for our executive director report. Maura, back to you.
Yeah, lucky you get to hear from me again. And of course, Jess always beats me to the punch. The first thing on my list was to let DDA board members know that all DDA board and committee meetings will resume in person effective 1/1/22. The in-person meetings are being required by the state legislature. The city does not have control over any of this. However, council has passed a resolution requiring vaccination for all political appointed boards and commissions. So Kelly will be, just as a reminder, sending you an email with a link to the portal I believe you already got, where you can report your vaccination status or apply for a medical or religious exemption. So thank you for taking care of that. We appreciate it. This is also a very important week for our downtown business community, particularly the retailers. Friday, December 3rd is Midnight Madness. This is typically the busiest night of the year for retailers. That's probably changed a little bit now that people have their online e-commerce up and running, but it's a real important night for our business community. The 3 neighborhood associations are working together again this year with a central webpage where you can find information on all the happenings in all 3 neighborhoods. And that website is same as last year, showyourlova2.org. That's showyourlova2.org. So I encourage everybody and anyone who's watching to please support our downtown businesses. And it's also, this week will be the Main Street Social District's inaugural week. This will be Ann Arbor's first social district. It kicks off this Thursday, December 2nd at 4 p.m. This will allow customers to walk around in designated areas with beer, wine, other alcoholic drinks from participating bars and restaurants. And those participating bars and restaurants will have special cups with the social district logo. There will also be signage and decals on the sidewalk that indicate the boundaries of that social district. So this is something new for us, and will be interesting to see how it goes. And that is all I have.
All right. Thank you very much, Maura. A lot of exciting stuff coming up here this December. Next on the agenda are the DDA subcommittee reports, beginning with the operations committee. I will turn it over to my co-chair, Jonathan Massey. Jonathan, you've got a lot to report on today for us.
I'm sorry, before we go, can we do the November minutes? I'm sorry.
Minutes.
Sure, sorry about that. Yeah, let's approve. Sorry, my right up here is a little bit blank. Let me bring up my document here.
That's my fault. Sorry, I don't have that in your notes. My apologies.
It's okay. I just want to make sure I get the language right here.
I can go ahead and move to approve the November 2021 minutes.
All right, that's exactly what I needed. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Tyler, I'd like to second that motion.
All right. Everybody in favor of approving the, let me bring it up back on my screen. I got a lot of screens up here.
First, we invite people to discuss in case they have any revisions.
It's so easy to do this when we're not the one in the hot seat, Tyler.
No. This is why we have teams. You guys are helping me out, so I appreciate it. I'm trying to bring a bunch of windows together here. So are there any, well, we have a motion in a second. Do we have any changes or revisions or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. All right, the November 2021 minutes are approved, and thank you all for helping me with my process here. It is not my forte. Moving ahead, subcommittee reports. As I said before, Jonathan Massey is going to take us through the operations committee, where we do have quite a lot on the agenda. Jonathan, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Tyler. Our first item, as you'll see in the packet, is an update on parking system financials through October 2021. This is something Maura touched on in her informational report, and it's you'll see the meter fees, hourly fees, permit fees, and total parking fees reported there. We're happy to take any questions or turn to Sarah to answer questions if anyone would like to go deeper on these data. Okay, so not hearing questions, our next item is to bring you a resolution. I'm going to make the resolution and seek a second, and then we can discuss it. And so I move that we adopt the following resolution. A resolution to select PC Municipal Systems as manager of the DDA's parking system.
This is Jess, second.
Thanks, Jess. So I'll just contextualize this a little bit. As you will see in the board pack, there's a memo from Jada that explains the process for bidding this contract to manage our parking system. You'll see that it was widely distributed. We received 6 bid submittals that the staff reviewed and scored, followed by a shortlist interview process that led the staff to recommend to the operations committee the selection of PCI Municipal Services. We discussed this in the most recent operations committee meeting and agreed and made this resolution in committee, and we now bring it to the full board to invite your comments, questions, and discussion. And Jada joins us to help with that if needed.
This is Jess. I just have a question about the conversation in committee. So I've followed along with this process with interest, and I'm interested to see that we're moving forward with another contractor. That's great. I'm curious, was it really competitive? Was it clear from the responses that this was the only one? I guess I'm just asking, was it a photo finish, or was the gap between folks who applied a little bit wider than that?
Jada, would you like to take a first crack at that?
Certainly. This is Jada speaking. So, Jess, I think what we learned from this process is that there are many firms out there who can kind of do the nuts and bolts work that we need from our operator. I think where firms begin to differentiate themselves, and certainly where our choice landed, had more to do with the culture, kind of the vision of the different operators. We felt like we ended up with a firm that was a good fit for us as far as their vision and the way they approach being an employer, was in line with the way that we do things at the DDA. So while probably all of the operators could have performed the basics at a basic level, there were some firms, and ultimately PCI really stood out for us.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
One dimension that I can add is that in the scoring of the RFP responses, the scores that staff generated ranged from 69 to 91 out of 100, and PCI was at the top of that range.
Just to tack on, one of the really wonderful things about Jonathan joining the ops committee he's been really digging into the why of what we're doing and learning sort of the nuts and bolts himself. So he really asked a lot of the questions I think, Jess, you were just asking about Jada. And so Jada really walked us through the process, and we got a pretty in-depth look. And it's just very clear that Jada did her homework and was able to present exactly what the process was to both Jonathan and I. And so it was helpful to sort of get a behind the scenes look at exactly how it was selected. So it's without getting into the the specifics here, it made Jonathan and I feel very comfortable with the process, getting a.
And Darren, who asked some very good questions.
Yeah, wonderful. It's true.
About the capacity of PCI to serve an organization in Michigan, given that they have a primarily Western US geography. And so we did delve into the small number of doubts that an organization like ours might have brought to the process.
Yep.
Thank you. That's all really helpful.
Are there further questions or comments? And for the boss, I hope I don't need to read the whole resolution.
No, I can say, I can call it the vote here. So without any further comments, questions, concerns? Okay, all those in favor?
I see Alec raising her hand.
Oh, okay,
Alex,
sorry about that. Yeah.
Sorry about that. So this is a changeover from our current management. What's the talk about what transition looks like? I guess I didn't even think about what would that look like between the two companies.
Alex, your audio is a little bit faint, at least for me, but I think you asked about the transition and handover this is something we discussed with Jada as well. Jada, do you want to talk a little bit about the planning you've done with both firms?
Sure. This is Jada speaking. Alex, in the parking industry, these transitions are not unusual. So most firms have either been the firm leaving or the firm coming in. And we have an outline, and we'll certainly dive into more detail as time gets closer and what the transition looks like. Obviously, our priorities being continuity of service to our customers and continuity for the current employees. So it's mostly a lot of behind the scenes work to kind of shift over, billing, payroll, accounting, things like that. But again, it's not unusual to have this happen in the parking industry. So I feel confident that PCI will be able to lead us through that.
Wonderful, thank you. Are we ready to move forward with the vote? Are there any other questions or comments? These are all very good. I want to make sure I don't miss a hand again here. Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution to select PCI Municipal Services as manager of the DDA's parking system, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. All right, the resolution passes. Jonathan, back to you.
Yeah, thank you. We have a second resolution. It's a motion to, I move that we adopt the resolution to approve the City of Ann Arbor and Ann Arbor DDA electric vehicle charger cost share agreement that you'll also find in your packet with some narrative. Is there a second?
This is Tyler, second.
So if I recall, Maura touched on this as well in her informational report. And this is a fairly complex document, but it reflects some very strong collaboration between the city and the DDA on managing electric vehicle charging and taking a step to expand the availability of EV charging. So this would, under this resolution, the DDA would enter into a charging as a service contract, 5 years in duration, with ChargePoint Incorporated to install, operate, and maintain 80 new EV chargers. This would include replacing 30 chargers that are currently in service in our facilities or in city facilities, plus an additional 50 new units. The DDA does not itself have funding for this project, so the agreement is to partner with the city so that the city's sustainability department can provide the funding to cover these infrastructure costs. If the board approves this resolution, the agreement will go to City Council to approve the issuing the grant to the DDA for the ChargePoint contract. And we're happy to answer questions, operations committee members, and also Jada, our expert partner on the staff.
This is Jess. I don't know if this is a thing we know at this point, but is this for on-street charging in structures, or do we know yet?
Jada, do you want to talk a little bit about the locations?
Sure. This is Jada. Jess, for now, we're focusing on adding into the structures. We, and most of the structures have some ability to add these units without adding electrical capacity or a new service at the facility. So we're kind of tackling that low hanging fruit first, and these will all be inside parking structures.
Thanks.
And this cost share, the 367,200 is what we'd be using the OSI funds and paying the Harper Electric that amount. So is that for the stations? Does Harper own the stations? Is there a revenue sharing on the charging as a service? How is that working out?
This is Jada. So Harper Electric is going to be doing some infrastructure work, and that will be managed and paid for by the city. The grant that we take from the city will pay for the charging as a service 5-year contract with ChargePoint. And in that scenario, yes, ChargePoint owns the units and is responsible for operating and maintaining them.
Okay. So our funds are going to for the upgrading of the electrical service to allow for the installation of these, but ChargePoint is assuming the cost for the installation of the actual stations as well as their ongoing maintenance.
Yes, the dollars from the city will cover the necessary electrical work from Harper and will allow us to pay for ChargePoint as a service.
And this is Maura. Just to be clear, I'm looking at the resolution on the screen. I think it might be a little confusing. The $367,200, that is the amount for the ChargePoint stations. That's basically the grant the city will be giving to the DDA, and we will sign that 5-year contract. The Harper Electric, I don't have it in front of me what the number is, but that's something the city will be paying Harper directly. They are working with Harper Electric to get the electricity where it needs to be. And it's within the parking structures, and we're helping coordinate that, but there's no exchange of money there with the Harper funds.
I see. So we're paying for the contract with ChargePoint.
Right, with city granted dollars. Yep.
Correct. And then ChargePoint is going to own, operate, maintain, and receive all revenue from the charging as a service.
So we will work to set those rates, and drivers will be paying for their electricity. So, our goal is to really have it revenue neutral. So we're going to have to look at all the costs that we have to weave into that fee. At some point, we don't anticipate this happening soon, given the capacity right now, but at some point it could generate some money. But for right now, we're just looking for this to be revenue neutral on that side of it.
I saw a couple of other people unmuted themselves. Darren, did you want to jump in, or others?
Yeah, just to try to answer Micah's questions, my understanding of the standard ChargePoint agreement, which I've been working on myself, is that this is a process where we're paying a lease fee to ChargePoint on a per port basis, on a monthly per port basis. So however many ports we have out there, we pay, it's usually $85 a port per month. And that covers renting the piece of equipment, and they cover all the maintenance of that equipment for the life of the agreement. As part of this, they also collect 100% of the revenue because they're doing the credit card transactions in the back end. And there's a revenue sharing agreement. Typically 90% of the revenue would come back to the DDA. They would keep 10% of the revenue that they collected. So I'm sure every contract is different because you negotiate contracts, but that's my understanding from my experience with ChargePoint of how this charging as a service, as they call it, typically operates.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Darren. Can somebody tell me what is our contract with ChargePoint in terms of the revenue sharing? If we're expecting this to be a revenue producing or at least revenue neutral, how do we recoup our costs?
So we are still working on the final contract, but Darren's right in that ChargePoint is the organization that will collect the money, from the user as they charge. They then take a 10% processing fee off of that. The other 90% would come to the DDA, and we would use that to pay for the electricity that was used, because the DDA pays the DTE bill for the facility. So that money would cover our costs. And again, like Maura said, looking to set the rates right now just to be revenue neutral to cover our costs. Use that 90% to cover our costs.
Thank you.
Do we have any
This
further
is Jess.
discussion? Oh, go ahead, Jess.
Yeah, I just want to observe, this is more an intuition than hard information, but the DDA has done a number of cost sharing agreements with different kinds of projects with the city over the years. I'm thinking of streetlights, I'm thinking of right-of-way projects. But this feels different and kind of exciting. I'm delighted that they approached us with this opportunity. And B, it feels like we're, I don't know, this feels future oriented in a way that feels exciting to me. So I just wanted to call out that, while this is definitely far from the first time that we've done something like this, it feels different and it feels good. And just grateful to the staff at OSI and the city for making it possible.
Totally agree. Thanks, Jess. Are there any other comments or discussion around this item? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution to approve the City of Ann Arbor and Ann Arbor DDA EV charger cost share agreement, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. Resolution passes. One more, Jonathan.
Yes, we have a third resolution to bring for your consideration and vote. And this is, I move that we adopt this resolution, which you'll find in your pack, authorizing a professional services agreement with Fishbeck for parking system engineering and consulting services. Is there a second?
This is Tyler, seconded.
So just to contextualize this a little bit, you all know, I believe, that we have a 20-year maintenance plan for our facilities. And this, in the course of implementing that plan, we have regular need for consulting services on system maintenance, restoration, engineering. So the staff issued an engineering services RFP to which 7 firms responded. The staff evaluation process led to a recommendation that we select Fishbeck as the firm to provide this work for us, starting with a 3-year professional services agreement that has an option to extend if the relationship is going well. And the services then would be provided on an as-needed basis, and project scope and budgets for individual projects within that agreement would be brought to the committee for approval. So this would allow us to have a kind of master agreement that expedites the procurement of our month-to-month needs moving forward. Questions, comments, applause for Jada and the staff for moving this forward.
Definitely applause. And I gotta say, some of the things that get me most excited about the work that we do is like the nuts and bolts good governance work. And this feels like good governance work. So thank you.
Hearing no further comments, move ahead. All those in favor of the resolution authorizing a professional services agreement with Fishbeck for parking system engineering and consulting services, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The resolution passes. Thank you. Now,
Tyler, I have one last note before I exit the
Sure.
the microphone stage. And that is just the board packet says that our next meeting will be December 22nd, but that meeting is canceled and the next operations committee meeting will be Wednesday, January 26th at 11 a.m.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Next is the Executive Director Search Committee. I'll provide that update. 8 members of the board interviewed 3 candidates for the executive director position at a special board meeting on November 8th. After deliberation on November 9th and 16th, the board approved the resolution to authorize an offer of employment to Jeffrey Watson as DDA executive director. We're now working with GovHR, the DDA attorney, and the city attorney's office on the employment agreement and the next steps in the process. It is anticipated the resolution to approve the DDA's selection of Jeffrey Watson will go to city council in mid-January. So we're working away. Next is the Affordable Housing and Economic Development Committee. I will turn it over to committee co-chairs Jihei Kim and Jess Letaw.
Hi. Oh, hold on. Let me move to a better spot where it will allow the video. Okay. Okay, so we heard from Matt Carpenter, who presented an AATA long-term vision, the RIDE 2045. 4 scenarios were presented: baseline, minor, modest, and major. Scenarios based on ridership, mileage, state and federal funding. AATA has held in-person and virtual public engagement sessions, met with individual stakeholders, and created an online survey. I also have some partnership updates from City Council. That's my dog. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Administrative Committee is developing plans for the City Council and the Planning Commission and others required to adhere to the OMA to return to in-person meeting as of January 1st, 2022. As we heard before, the council approved the ordinance. The council approved the ordinance requiring menstrual hygiene products in public bathrooms. There will be a public outreach forthcoming on the $24 million that the city received through the American Rescue Plan Act. From the Planning Commission, the Planning Commission is working on transit-oriented development plan review for State and Eisenhower. TODs encourage mixed uses in sufficient density to support more housing choices, and further city goals related to sustainability, affordable housing, transportation, and future land use. Commission continues its work on a streamlined site plan threshold and an amendment to Chapter 55 for approval protocol to make it feasible and desirable for developers to meet the ongoing need for more housing choices. Our next meeting is coming up soon in December 8th.
Great. Thank you, Jihei. Next, we have the Capital Improvements Committee. I'll turn it over to Alex Deek.
Thanks, Tyler. Can you all hear me? Jonathan said you couldn't hear me.
You're real
Ross,
faint, Alex.
Try to just go on my computer.
You're muted.
Okay, how about now?
Oh, there we go.
I just have to stand really close to my computer. Okay, so we did not have a November meeting for the Capital Improvements Committee. You'll recall we kind of front-ended a lot of work and resolutions before the summer. Specifically, Amber was out of the office too, so I think that was part of her planning to keep us on track. So we don't have a lot to update, but construction updates. So a contractor will be working the next 2 weeks to complete the concrete bicycle curb islands on William and Division. Most of the asphalt work there has been completed. The change in the weather will require remaining kind of small road patches to be put back in concrete and replaced with asphalt in the spring. And construction is expected to be substantially complete by the week of December 20th. And that's all from a construction update. And our next meeting is going to be December 15th. It has not been canceled. And I guess that'll be in Zoom, right, Maura? And then new year, we start going in person. Okay.
All right. Excuse me. Thank you, Alex. Next, we have the Finance Committee.
That's me, Tyler. The November Finance Committee was canceled due to a lack of agenda items. There's actually no meeting scheduled for December, so the next Finance Committee meeting will be on Thursday, January 27th at 9 a.m. And that's all for us. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thanks, Micah. Next, we have the Executive Committee report. The committee reviewed the agenda for today's board meeting, and we had a brief discussion about setting up a plan to create a blueprint for success for the incoming executive director, which was very helpful. And I think it's going to spur some action on behalf of myself and Jihei Kim, along with Maura. So we'll tackle that. The next executive committee meeting will be on Wednesday, December 1st at 11 a.m. I believe that wraps up our.
Or maybe January.
Did I read it wrong? Yes.
Mostly.
Excuse me. What's the first Wednesday in January? Does anyone have that in front of them?
January 5th.
5th?
Thank you.
Perfect. That's the time of the next board meeting. It'll be on Wednesday. It was here January 5th. Correct? All right.
That is
2021 correct. At noon.
2022.
2022. What is going on? Tyler. Get it together here. All right.
It's not Tyler, it's me. It's my script writing.
No. I can use my brain here. Is there any new DDA business to discuss? All right, hearing none. Are there members of the public who wish to address the board? If you're attending by computer or phone with the Zoom app, please use the raise your hand function and I will call on you. At that time, please unmute your microphone, state your first and last name and share your comments. If attending by phone/audio only, please unmute your microphone and request a comment. I will call on you. We ask that you state your first and last name and share your comments. You will have up to 4 minutes to speak. I think I see one hand raised. That's Alan Haber. Alan, you have 4 minutes. Go ahead.
Hello, thank you. Nice to witness the continuing process. As you know, I'm a part of the development of the community commons. I have two thoughts. I witnessed the interviewing process for the new director, Jeffrey Watson, and the other candidates. And there was no discussion of the existence of the charter requirement that the center of the city be developed, the public land there, as a central park and civic center, as a commons. There was no discussion of what is a commons and how that form of municipal organization is different in terms of its being user managed rather than governmental managed or privately managed. And I hope that there will be some orientation both for the board itself and for the new director as to what really are the obligations under the city charter for the development of the center of the city. And further, in terms of you mentioned the restrooms And there is a great need in your capital improvement for restrooms at Liberty Plaza and on the Library Lane parking lot area. So I wish that that would accelerate somewhere in your capital improvements, especially as there is government money under the American the Rescue Plan coming into the city and coming into the DDA. So those are two things to attend at least to that necessary amenity, and also to the bringing to the board as a whole and to the new director, what is the commons, what is going on in terms of the various plans for its development. There needs to be a sense of cooperation, and the various agencies, the Council of the Commons that the city appointed, the initiating committee that the city recognized, and yourselves as having some authority in this over the center of the city block. So I'm just here, as I have been on many occasions, to remind you that the Commons is right in the center of your attention, and I wish you would give it attention. It would be excellent if you would have a board meeting that would invite people who are involved in this development to actually have a discussion with you, rather than the occasional 4 minutes we have at the beginning of the end, with which there is no interaction or back and forth. So that's my comments. I wish you all well, and it will be interesting to be seeing people face to face and not in our little rectangles. But that has been an interesting experience also. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Alan. Do we have any other individuals who wish to speak? Seeing no hands raised, I'd like to ask for a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
Tyler, a motion to adjourn.
This is Jonathan. I second.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. Thank you all for bearing with me today. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all.